Hello and welcome back to Point to Play Games with some more Detective Grimoire. The last time we were here, we went through continuing to ask questions about the many things that we found and unlocked, mostly being about the boggy costume design that we found, as well as also being able to make our way into the office where Richard Remington was apparently killed. While we were within there, we managed to find a few clues suggesting that Richard Remington and this tourist attraction isn't exactly all that it's cracked up to be, or that perhaps there's a secondary motive. But either way, there's only one way to find more stuff out, and that is to keep clicking around, keep asking people, and keep talking. We'll, of course, start with Lady Weybridge right here. And we also did unlock a challenge for Sally Spears, the person who tries to sell crappy merchandise, whatever that's called. Anyways, let's get talking. Alright, let's talk about this boggy costume.
I found these designs for a boggy costume. Do you know anything about them?
You're asking me because you can tell I'm experienced with needlecraft and sew my own clothes?
No, but that's a good reason. Let's go with that.
Well, these designs look like they should have stayed where they were.
In the trash?
On paper.
Oh, how come?
Whoever drew them didn't really know what they were doing.
You would have done it differently?
Of course. I am a seamstress. There was a time when I considered sewing my craft, my livelihood.
Really?
When Richard Remington arrived in the swamp years ago, I offered him some of my handmade fabric as a peace offering. I don't think he cared much for it. Most likely he threw it away. A pointless gift.
Oop, I'm sorry about that. Obviously, the rest of what she was going to say was just a pointless gift from a strange woman. I'd accidentally clicked out of the screen, clicked back in, but either way, now let's talk about Richard Remington. Sounds like there was a bit of a hate-hate relationship going on there.
You've been here so long, you must have crossed paths with Remington a few times. What did you think of him?
That man was a threat to the swamp. We'll be better off without him. Hopefully the curtain will fall on his little tourist attraction as well.
Better off? With a killer on the loose now?
There have been murderers loose in the swamp before.
What are you talking about?
In my time here, I've seen the swamp invaded by men. By hunters. Several times. They're relentless.
What were they hunting? Wait, what about Boggy? Is that why no one has seen him in 60 years?
They always fell short of their ultimate goal. That just meant they came back again and again, doing more harm each time.
But this area is protected by law, right?
It is now, but some men have no respect for laws, of any kind. They tried to get me to leave my home here. I stood my ground.
Obviously. But this whole area is a tourist attraction now. I doubt Remington would have allowed anyone to march into Boggy's bog with a gun and start hunting down his main attraction.
You see, that's one of the things where you sort of sit there and say to yourself, I'm starting to think that there's a pretty big connection between Richard Remington, that hunting club, and this attraction. Perhaps he actually created this attraction so he would have exclusive opportunity to try and hunt down Boggy. Or something, especially after reading that letter that was in the office. Well, I mean, either way, we still have more people to talk to. We have another suspect to try and find, and we do have to grill Sally about her leggings, which is a sentence I never thought I would say in my entire life. But either way, thank you very much, Miss Wayfred. Either way, I guess we'll see you later. Alright, so let's just kind of pick a direction. Let's start going this way. You know what, this is actually the way we came from. Instead, let's go in the opposite direction, because then we'll be able to talk to the cafe gentleman about a few things. So we'll talk about Remington, and then we'll actually talk about the clue, because we do have that photograph that I think he might know something about. It's always possible. Only one way to find out, though.
You said you knew Remington?
He and I knew each other for a long time. I came to work at his tourist attraction in the early days, when he needed help.
Well, what kept you here?
I know most people wouldn't want to work in a place like this. I actually like it here. So I was happy to oblige.
You might like it, but I still don't see why anyone would build a tourist attraction here.
Mr. Remington has his reasons. He probably had several. I don't presume to know what they all were. Even though we were friends, he had some secrets, some hobbies, that I was happy to let him keep secret.
Secrets? Hobbies? A secret hobby?
He was a man with a dream. I can tell you that much.
Did you notice how while he was talking, like, they turned, like, purposely the background, like, completely black to try and make it sound more ominous? It was a nice little touch. Alright, let's talk about this.
One of Mr. Remington's secrets. I never wanted to know the details, but these men travel the world, seeking mysterious animals to hunt. They consider myths and legends to be the ultimate prey.
See, once again, they just sort of darkened everything just to make it look kind of cool. Alright, let's just briefly go through the rest of these just so that they can be done, but we kind of got, I guess, a little more confirmation.
That's Mr. Remington's old hunting rifle. He usually keeps it around. For whatever reason, he was very fond of that thing. Looks like it was fired recently.
That's interesting. Let's talk about...
That's the same fabric from Mr. Remington's curtains.
Alright, we kind of knew that.
It's Mr. Remington's fireplace poker. This slime on the handle. It's familiar for some reason.
Well, we have the confirmation for that. It's because it's the swamp juice.
I can't help you with that one. Sorry.
Kind of saw that coming.
Why don't you show that to someone else?
Yet another example of kind of saw that. You know what? I don't think we showed her any of these pieces. We only talked about the costume. We'll go back to her. And I mean Miss,
I don't know everything, I'm afraid.
Waybread? Wayfred?
I can't help you with that one.
I
Sorry.
figured might have recognized her. Lady Waybridge. There we go. Anyways, Harper, you know strange things about everyone. Let's talk about Sally.
I don't know very much about them.
Useless. Alright. And away we go. Alright, Sally, you haven't been telling us the truth about everything. Stop looking so bored with your weird green hair and extremely pale complexion. We have some questions to ask you. Why aren't you wearing shoes, for example, in the swamp? But first, let's talk about Remington.
So what can you tell me about your relationship with Richard Remington?
I didn't have one. I think I spoke to him twice, ever. He usually seemed really busy, but more like preoccupied.
Preoccupied? Like he was thinking about something else? Something that wasn't this tourist attraction?
Who can say? What do old men think about?
What? Are you implying that I know the answer to that?
Wow. Alright, anyways, we got a challenge. So let's go.
The black leggings you found in your bag this morning. They're covered in the same slime that was on the murder weapon.
Everything in the swamp is covered in slime. What's your angle, Grimoire?
The exact slime Your black leggings were part of the murderer's costume.
Your black leggings were part of the murderer's costume.
Costume? Is that why someone took them out of my bag last night?
Well, you know, I don't have proof someone else took them.
If I had been wearing them when I committed a crime, do you think I would hand them over to a detective the second he shows up? Besides, look at them. What do you notice?
You're too fat to wear these. Oh, that's hilarious. They're far too long for you to wear. No, the obvious answer is they're loose and stretched.
They're loose and stretched.
That's right, someone else. Someone larger than me has worn these. They're stretched out, especially at the waist. It's pretty obvious.
So, let's see. Somebody stole them to use in their boggy costume, and then put them back in your bag when they were done?
If you say so. It's not my job to know all the details. It's my job to sell souvenirs. Do you want a souvenir?
Oh, my, yes, but only if you choose one for me.
You look like you could use something to wind up. You can take this one.
Tap on here to wind up the Wow. A small plastic toy sold at the gift shop has the cartoon appearance of Boggy. Boggy's feet are hidden under the water. Amazing. So we now have, actually thinking about this real quick, we now have... We have every clue, but we don't have all the information we could get out of all of them, I guess. Which is why it still says we're only 99% of the way or something like that. 94%.
It's a humble gift shop wagon.
No, I don't want to stare at the bad merchandise again. I want to present some clues.
I always thought it was weird that his feet are in that little bucket all the time.
It's just part of the character, I guess. I'm surprised they don't sell some sort of boggy foot soaker.
And that would be the one product I'd consider buying.
Huh. Well...
Where are you keeping all this?
Alright. Like I said, we're just gonna...
Is that one of your clues?
Yep, quick click whenever they say they're
I have no idea.
And...
Where are you keeping...
Okay, cool, alright. We got no profiles, except for the mystery man. Alright, let's just keep making our way through. Oops, well, of course, I always forget that that goes that way. Oh, not you again. I suppose we have no choice. Hey, creepy girl.
You again. Ready with some cryptic advice, no doubt?
Don't let them take him.
Who? The murderer? That's my job. I gotta make sure that
No, the creature. Don't take him away. This place is his home.
Oh, Boggy. Hey, don't worry. I didn't really believe he could be, responsible for this mess.
You didn't?
Well, no.
Mainly because I didn't believe him exists. I don't believe he could ever hurt anyone. I've always known who the murderer was, and it's not Boggy. I mean, honest, I'm just gonna be honest.
Mainly because I didn't believe he existed at all.
So, he won't get in trouble? You won't have to leave?
Well, he's been out here for what, 60 years, hasn't he? And stayed out of trouble for that long. I have a feeling some detective isn't going to change all that in one day.
Well, in that case, he says, thank you.
She just disappeared again. Thank you. So you can't see it, but I just got the achievement, Who is that little girl? And that's 100% how I feel whenever I interact with her. Literally always. She is so weird. So we haven't gone to the dock in like forever, so I'm just curious. Is there anything interesting here?
Try and solve every suspect's challenge topic. If you're struggling, don't forget to present profiles and clues to people who might be interested. Oh, and hurry up. It's cold in this boat.
Amazing. So yeah, apparently we could have come to him at any time for really, really lousy advice. That's the exact type of advice I'm looking for. Advice that's just generally useless. Who are you? Stop swamping the Great. Great. It's exactly what we needed. A hippie activist. This is what I was after. This is what this game was missing right here. This guy. And his floating attached beard pieces. Alright, let's go.
You've arrived at a bad time, my friend. For once, they don't actually want tourists walking around this place.
I always arrive at a bad time. It's what I do. I'm a detective, not a tourist.
My apologies. It's just, you have the same wide-eyed expression as the kids that come here. Running around, spending their parents' money, you know.
Well, it's not every day I visit a swamp full of such unique specimens.
It's no problem. You're just thinking what we all thought when we arrived for the first time.
Why didn't they put in a bathroom?
No, you're thinking, this place is beautiful. What a lucky man I am to be here.
I am I? Well, if you say so.
Edward Everstone, at your service.
That's a pretty cool name. Can I call you Ed?
You don't need to. Everyone just calls me Echo.
Why? Because it gives you an elevated sense of purpose. Why? Because you're such a good swimmer. Why? Because you'd bounce if I threw you at a wall. What are... Oh my god. Okay. I guess,
Why? Because you'd bounce if I threw you against a wall?
What? No. Because I always come back. Again and again, until my job is done.
Okay, so we now have just someone brand new to talk to, so... And he's the last person. So, I mean, here goes nothing.
You're protesting, right?
I certainly am. And now that you're here, I'm getting you involved.
What does that mean? Yeah, I haven't got time to hold up signs for you. I'm sorry.
You simply have to hear my message and take it with you.
Go ahead. I'm all ears. Plus, I have a little notebook.
What was the first thing you felt when you saw the sign for Boggy's Bog looming over you?
Well, I thought it was...
Not thought. Felt.
I felt... Well, something seemed wrong. There wouldn't be a tourist attraction in the middle of a swamp like this. There shouldn't be.
My job is done. Clearly your brain is working perfectly, Detective.
So you're against the tourist attraction? Yeah, let's see. You'd rather this area was kept as a natural habitat, right?
Right again. And that precise word, habitat. First and foremost, I'm protesting for animal rights.
Well, okay, I'm following you, but it's not like they're cutting down trees or anything like that, right?
All animals deserve the right to live in peace, and I promise you, on a normal day, this place is far from peaceful.
Are you talking about the swamp creature? About Boggy?
A creature like that. He's earned the right to be left alone. We're fools to invite ourselves into his home like this on a daily basis, assuming he's not going to mind. Assuming he'll keep to himself and let us walk around with his face on our t-shirts.
Well, I agree. I think he should be left alone. But like you said, he can probably handle himself. And if no one has even seen him in 60 years, I don't really see the problem.
Unlike you, Detective, I never had an academic calling in life. I was never even a talented artist or musician or anything. So instead, I made the decision to stand up for those who were getting a raw deal.
See, I'm starting to question if that's the truth or if he was one of the hunters turned activist. But either way, let's talk about last night.
You come here every day.
Yes, I do.
Well, I'm only going to ask you about one of those days. What were you doing yesterday evening?
I was here at my protest spot until fairly late. Then I went to get something to eat at Harper's Cafe before I...
Wait, you ate at the cafe here? Doesn't supporting the tourist attraction like that kind of go against your protest?
A man has to eat, doesn't he? I don't think the meager contributions of one person are going to keep this place afloat. Especially now.
And you're sleeping here? Doesn't it get cold at night?
Well, I came prepared, of course. I usually find myself with 1 or 2 extra layers to wear. Most of this bulk is padding, I promise you.
I'm sure it is. So you stayed here the whole night?
That's right. And I admit I may have heard some stranger than usual sounds floating around the swamp last night.
What kind of sounds?
It's impossible to say. This place fills with the most terrifying sounds at night. Hundreds of animals, some tiny, some much larger, awaken and make their own protests. Every night until the sun rises in the morning.
Insects make noises at night. Okay, I've written it down.
Not very helpful. Though I definitely feel like that after presenting some profiles and maybe a clue or two, we'll get a lot of interesting information from him. But for the moment, we're going to talk about the costume.
What can you tell me about these designs for a costume? A Boggy costume.
It's Boggy! I must admit, I've been a fan of his before I ever came to the swamp.
A fan? So you're interested in cryptozoology?
Oh, no, I meant, well, Boggy has been in all kinds of cartoons and comic strips. He's one of the greatest characters of the last 100 years. I've got some comics in my tent. You really should see.
But he was only discovered 60 years ago.
Oh, that's true. Well, I rounded up.
But what about his costume? Have you seen anyone wearing it?
I can honestly say I've never seen anyone wearing anything like that. And I'm a very observant person.
That was an interesting slip right there. Let's talk about Richard Remington. This may be the last question we get to ask for the time being, but still.
So, what did Mr. Remington think of you? I mean, protesting in the middle of a swamp every day.
It wasn't his swamp. If he ever truly thought it was, then he was even more of a fool than he seemed.
But he didn't like you hanging around, right?
That man was exceptionally skilled at ignoring me, ignoring anything he didn't like.
So, what, he just left you alone?
He expected me to get bored and go home. He figured I'd get sick of this place and he'd have it back to himself.
But he didn't want it to himself, did he? He wanted lots of people to come visit all the time, surely.
I'm sure it says that in the brochure. Yes.
Okay, this feels like the more we talk to this guy, the more confirmed the idea that Richard Remington really is just a member, obviously, as he is of this hunting club that existed, and that he just wants to hunt the quarry without anyone really being here, and this is just a front. However, unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today, so thank you very much for joining me once again for Detective Grimoire. I hope to see you next time, and remember, always make a point to play games.